Howdy, everybody, and welcome to the TexAgs High School Football Show, presented by Academy Sports and Outdoors. Academy has all your high school football road trip needs this season. Get the right gear for the long season with free curbside pickup today at Academy Sports and Outdoors. All right, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the TexAgs High School Football Show, playoff edition, rolling right along after the by-district round. I believe there are 220 total games or teams. Which one sounds right, Jason? 220 games this week or 220 teams left?
I'll let you figure that out, man.
It's one of the two. Don't hold us to the
down. We're getting down to the final few.
Right. Don't hold us to the specifics, but it will be half the number of teams and or games next week, and then the week after, and then the week after, as we go through and eliminate pretenders from contenders for a trip to Arlington and AT&T Stadium in the state final. So, Jason, I guess with this playoff versions, let's do this. Let's obviously recap where you were, but some games around Dallas that stood out to you last week.
Okay. Last week I kicked off my weekend on Thursday at DeSoto, seeing Pflugerville Weiss. It's a pretty tight ball game. Weiss gave them a heck of a run.
Weiss has got good players.
Yeah, they do. They're a well-coached team, and they had a lot of. Not only did they have some talented guys, but they had a lot of try-hard guys. You know, just you're going to get everything they got, and but DeSoto was able to separate in the second half for a 37-20 win. And DeAndre Ryden had a really big game. 15 carries, 166 yards, 2 touchdowns, 3 receptions for 72 yards. He was probably my highlight of the game. That DeSoto offense kind of turned it on. And while it was close, DeSoto, you always had a sense DeSoto, you know, when they wanted to, they could really make magic happen. Pflugerville just had to work twice as hard to get anything done, and to their credit, they did. They did a great job, and a great season for them. Even though the record doesn't necessarily show it, but making the playoffs and the future's bright there. Then on Friday night, South Oak Cliff got to see Javon Thomas make his return against Mansfield Summit in the first round of the playoffs, and talk about a tight ball game. I don't think anybody called this one, but you had a matchup of similar styles, and 12-7 South Oak Cliff win that took special teams, played by Randy Reese, a punt return for a touchdown and late in the game to seal the deal for South Oak Cliff. Mansfield Summit was not shying away or intimidated. And Javon, I mean, you saw some rust there. He kind of rotated in, and they were kind of, letting him kind of get his legs back under him, but he rotated in at running back, had some spot duty, but you could tell he's still shaking off some rust. I look for him to pick things up over the next few weeks. Malik Muhammad had a really nice game. Kelvion Riggins out. Him and Muhammad were out for the first half because of some stuff that happened against Woodrow Wilson. So they had to sit out the first half, but they came in big second halves and helped South Oak Cliff pull away. And a few other games. I mean, Louisville over Allen, 43-18. I thought Louisville would win, but that 43-18 score, that's a big number. That's an impressive win. Louisville, and it doesn't get any easier for Louisville with Arlington Martin coming up this week. Then you had Red Oak pulling out the last minute win over Denton Ryan. They were down 21 points, I think, at half, and came back to win 29-28 and ended Ryan's season. Then I think let's see, Richland Yeah, those were the two big ones for me that really caught my attention. I think we talked a little bit about them going into the weekend.
Yeah, and I think so. I was going through the Houston scores a little bit, scrolling, and it
Hmm.
was way more chalky in Houston. Like Allen and Denton Ryan being out in the first round, regardless of that
Yeah.
their matchups and opponents, that's big news because those were both perennial state title contenders. And
Well,
before the season started, I think a lot of people would have picked Denton Ryan in 5A Division One to be the state
well,
champion, and so both of them going out is a pretty big deal.
and Euless Trinity also went down in the first round to Keller, and that's another team this year hasn't they haven't been they haven't been very dominant at all. But so that program's kind of taken a little step back right now. But you know them going out in the first round is still it's hard to see that. I got a feeling they're gonna rebound. But yeah, Euless Trinity going out. I think it's got to be several years
Yeah.
since those three programs were out in the first round.
Well, on Thursday, I started right down the road at College Station High School, saw Madisonville and LaGrange. My week last weekend was kind of small school oriented.
Yeah.
So Madisonville, LaGrange, and I got to see Bravion Rogers one more time. And Madisonville just kind of slowly and steadily just kind of kept pulling away. There was, LaGrange turned the ball over like crazy, and it for a while there, one team would turn it over, and you think, okay, LaGrange, like Madisonville would turn it over. You think LaGrange is going to get back in it here, and 2 plays later, LaGrange is going to turn it over. But that was a pretty impressive performance, I thought, from Madisonville and their 2024 Texas Tech commit Lorenzo Johnson. First time I'd seen him play all year. First time I'd seen him since a camp up there at Arlington Martin. That kid's gotten a lot better, man. A lot more physical, a lot more mature. Had some huge plays at both corner and receiver. Tristan Whaley, I believe, nephew of Chris Whaley, former Madisonville running back.
Yeah.
Chris Whaley, 2025 kind of slot receiver running back, made a couple of huge plays in that game. And Madisonville just kept kind of pulling away from LaGrange. LaGrange could never really – they start a young quarterback. They also got introduced to a kid named Oliver Gunn. And you may remember a guy by the name of Ty Gunn that played quarterback at, I believe, TCU. Oliver is his nephew. He's a freshman linebacker at LaGrange, 6'3", 195 pounds. So a name to keep an eye on there for the Leopards. But yeah, really, thorough performance from Madisonville. They move on now to play a really stout Belleville team, and that one's going to be tough for the Mustangs. And then on Friday night, went over to Navasota in the most miserable conditions I've ever sat through a football game and watched Jasper and Sealy. It was 7-0 Jasper at halftime. And neither one of those teams looked like they really wanted to be out there. And it was all about who was going to handle the elements and adjust to them better. And then Sealy came out in the second half and I believe scored 24 unanswered points. Ooh. And just in dreadful conditions in the second half. And Sealy, these are some of these schools that we don't see very often.
Yeah.
They're kind of just outside the greater Houston area. So you get introduced to kids, and they got a 24 linebacker that I thought – was an impressive kid, a 25 receiver, and they got a 26 kind of safety athlete, and they were all made big plays in the game. So I like going and covering those schools because you get your eyes opened to some new kids. And so Sealy, they've got their quarterback. His name is Devon Himilowski, and he's a valedictorian of the class, 4.0 kid, and was the best player on the field. He's like undersized, shifty, tough runner. Can make a throw when they need to, and like really impressive night from that kid. And the coaching staff just went on and on about, hey, like he should be able to go to play in the Ivies, right? And I was like, from what I saw tonight, I would think if I'm an Ivy League school to go get a valedictorian out of Texas that can play like him, I think they'd be chomping at the bit. But, that was a game watching experience. And you said your game on Friday was super cold too with sock.
Oh, yeah.
But it was cold and horizontal rain for the first half. Man, it was miserable. Hopefully it's supposed to be cold this weekend, but hopefully we'll get some clear skies. But outside of that, you also had one of your – we had to talk about you had a state finalist go out in the first round in Lexington.
I'm a little disappointed. I don't know what to say. I went out on a little bit of a limb there, but I didn't think it was
you let the Snow's barbecue cloud your judgment.
I did. And who doesn't? Snow's is great. You can't I mean,
All right. Well, let's
yeah.
preview this coming week. Where are you at next couple of nights?
I'm gonna get back out to South Oak Cliff on Saturday, and that's gonna be my game this week. You know, Javon, like I said, he kind of came in, was trying to find his legs a little bit. I'm gonna see them against Lucas Lovejoy,
Man,
in
I
Globe
know
Life
you like
Stadium.
I know you like the matchup for Sock better in that game, but Lovejoy's super good.
They are, and from what I understand, they're going to be without Peyton Pierce, linebacker, so the defense is going to be handicapped a little bit. The secondary for Sock match is one of the few that matches up pretty well with that Lucas Lovejoy offense, but they're going to have to. Sock's going to have to figure out more offense than what they've shown when they faced a tough opponent over the last few times they've done it. So if that offense can't get moving, Lovejoy, they've got potential to run away with it. But that Sock defense is going to be hard. It's going to be a tough matchup for those receivers. They're not going to have faced anything like this. So, but that's where I'm going to be. That'll be Saturday.
What do you think
I'm
about
looking forward to Globe Life.
Denton
Yeah.
Geyer and Highland Park?
Man, that's going to be a fun game. That if you can get out there, I highly recommend it. That's one of the I like that game. That should be a close one. I expect Geyer to kind of pull away, but it's going to be a tough fight, and it's indoors, so right there at the Ford Center in Frisco. So you got a chance to see Highland Park, and Geyer's going to be down Eli Bowen, who's out with a collarbone injury for the rest of the year. So a little bit shorthanded on that defense, and Geyer's still my favorite to win state in 6A D2, but yeah, that's gonna be a tough matchup. And Louisville, like I said, they face off with Arlington Martin at Ford Stadium there at SMU. That should be another fun matchup. Really a toss-up game. These two went toe-to-toe last year in the playoffs, and Louisville. I was at that game last year, and Louisville knocked them out. So you got a little revenge factor there for Arlington Martin. And then another one in the Dallas area. There's a couple more. Longview at playing Lone Star at Kincaid Stadium should be an excellent matchup. And Reedy and Lancaster, another one, as those two districts go head to head. But watch out for those. Those few games definitely put on your radar. Get out and see some good high school football. There's plenty of it.
Tomorrow night, I will be in Waller to see Franklin take on Anahuac. And this is kind of my games this week are region. Well, since they redid the regions and they reconfigured who's going where in these South Texas regions. So basically, draw a line at about the Woodlands and go south, and how they've kind of restructured everything down here. That's what these matchups are that I've got. I've got Franklin against Anahuac on Thursday night. What a great slate of games. I haven't seen Franklin this year, and they've obviously got Bryson Washington and Devin Hidrago. And I'll tell you the one that everybody's talking about, including other coaches, is sophomore running back linebacker Jaden Jackson, who we saw some tape on him earlier this year, just went crazy in
I
one of their final regulars.
Matt Truck,
yes.
as an 8th grader.
So that's where I'll be on Thursday. And then on Friday, again, South Houston meets up against North San Antonio in Bastrop as Smithson Valley takes on Manville. And you want to talk about a strength versus strength game. The Smithson Valley running game and offensive line against the Manville front seven. That is going to be a lot of fun to watch. That's, I think, where the game's going to be won and lost. Like, can either side make a dent in the other one's the best thing they do there? So looking forward to see Colton Thomason go against the supremely athletic Manville front seven there in Bastrop. And then in Houston, man, I'm telling you, I'm looking at some of these games.
Yeah.
I love Coach Butler at Shadow Creek. I'm putting the Sharks on upset alert, though, against Summer Creek. Battle of the Creeks there. But Summer Creek is in that district with Atascocita, and North
Yeah.
Shore and C.E. King, and they got 4
Played 'em all
losses on the
tough.
year, but they played all of them super tough. Shadow Creek undefeated on the year. That game is Friday night at U of H's TD ECU Stadium. Just watch that one. I think Summer Creek and Coach Harrison may be able to pull an upset there. But Houston is just – and there's some – not just Houston, man. Across the state, Austin Vandergrift undefeated against Converse Judson, who's Judson hadn't had the year they thought they were going to, but it's Converse Judson in the playoffs with Anthony Evans and Johnny Bowens and Miles Murphy.
And they played some of those teams. Man, they play tough.
Yep.
They're hard out. I mean, what they take Cibolo Steel to overtime, and Steel's undefeated right now. I mean, they've played some really tough teams, really tough. Judson's dangerous.
And I think so. My pick out of 5A Division I Region 3 Fulshire, they're traveling to A&M Consolidated this weekend. That's a huge, huge matchup. The winner of that one gets the winner of that Smithson Valley Manville game. But, man, the slate across the state, the slate across Houston, I think it Spring Westfield against Klein Collins. Man, there's some really, really good games this week. If you're sitting at home, you're doing it wrong, especially if you're an Aggie fan. Like you ain't having much to watch on Saturday just because of the record, but they're also playing UMass. Get out there and watch some of this Texas high school football playoffs. And maybe we get to re-alter or reconfigure our state championship picks next week, because the way some of these matchups look, we may have a bunch of our state champions go out.
I'm telling you, man, they're really tough to pick right now. They're splitting hairs, and there's a lot of these games that could go either way.
Yep.
And that's what makes it so much fun.
All right, for Jason Howell, I'm Ryan Brauninger. We'll see y'all next week on the TexAgs High School Football Show.